Talk to me about what's on the agenda for you with the Prime Minister Boris Johnson today in terms of your region's security.
Well, I think it's not just my region's security, it's actually the security of all of Europe which is at stake. I think that we have seen that naivete about Putin's Russia over the past 3 weeks has completely evaporated. I suppose the next step that we need is the fear of Putin and of Putin's Russia also has to evaporate. If we look at the Ukrainian people, we can see an incredibly strong determination not to be subjugated, not to allow this imperialistic dictator destroy their country, destroy their independence, destroy their way of life. So what we have to do is always continue to support Ukraine, which we are doing militarily, humanitarily, with medicines, with fuel, with food, with everything. But at the same time, it's very important that in Europe and in NATO especially, we shore up our own defenses and shore up the entire eastern flank from the Baltic down to the Black Sea. This is actually already happening. It's a very, very good signal. We need to keep up those efforts. And Russia has to understand that any escalation outside and into NATO territory would be devastating because, of course, the combined might of NATO is simply not comparable to the Russian military.
Yes, talk to me about how you're bolstering your own country's security. You talked about it a little there. Extra NATO troops in your country, bolstering that eastern flank. And I was reading, interestingly earlier, that more people are enlisting into the volunteer brigades of Latvia's National Guard over the last few days, more than over the whole of the last year. This is a real concern for the people of your country, getting their security measures in place for any kind of Russian aggression on your soil.
Of course it is, but for years we've been bolstering our defenses. We have been spending over 2% of our GDP. I think this year it's about 2.2, 2.3% of GDP. We just took a government decision to increase that to 2.5%. So we will continue to bolster our own defenses. We have a very modern, very efficient fighting force, and we are seeing now that the voluntary recruits coming in is unprecedented. People in my country are very loyal patriots, and this is a concrete step that people are doing. People are asking themselves, what can I do to help? So many are donating money. We've had huge inflows of private donations. Companies are offering all kinds of goods that they have to be shipped to Ukraine. People are offering their homes, opening up their homes. You don't have a problem with big refugee centers because basically all the Ukrainians that are coming to our country are being taken open-armed into people's homes. So people are very engaged. We see what is happening there. We understand that it has everything to do with us, but with us not only as Latvians or as a Baltic nation, but as Europeans. And this is what we have to realize, and we can stand up to it, and we must stand up to it.
Yeah, we focus on what you can do militarily, but I know that the Joint Expeditionary Force, the summit that the Prime Minister Boris Johnson is hosting, including Latvia, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Sweden and Norway, all the members this week, the Prime Minister said that he wants to focus not just on the military aspect of defence, but the resilient aspects that go beyond our military footing. What other kind of measures can you put in place to resist Vladimir Putin's threats?
Well, the basics is already there. There is a complete realization of what we're dealing with. An aggressive dictator who is attacking a peaceful neighboring country. So the Joint Expeditionary Force, JEF, is a very important part of the response against that. It's a great initiative. It fits within the broader framework of NATO, and what it is a rapid deployment capability across all of the north of Europe to come to the aid of one another as the case may arise, to perform exercises together to keep the Baltic Sea open and the North Sea. So this is very important. But of course, there are many other things that we can do to strengthen our resilience, and that is also isolating Russia. So this war is already having an impact in my country, in Britain, throughout the world. in terms of our economies. The Ukrainians are paying for the war with their lives, with their physical infrastructure, with their schools, with their hospitals that are being destroyed. We're paying through it through higher energy prices and some other inconveniences in terms of the flow of goods. But this is a small cost to bear. So we as politicians have a responsibility to explain to our citizens what is happening and why it's happening. It's all part of a sense of the war effort. And the process of isolating Putin's regime has tremendous costs for the Russian economy, but it will also have costs for ours. But once again, these costs compared to what we know is, and we see on the screens happening in Ukraine, are minuscule. And this is what we need to do, is to understand and convey to our citizens what the cost of this war is to us, and that we have to bear this cost. The other option is complete physical destruction, as we see in Ukraine.
Can I just ask you something that you will have a unique view on as a Prime Minister, as a leader of Latvia? We talk about the West, we talk about NATO, we talk about Europe being so much more united as a result of what is going on in Ukraine and Russia's invasion there. We talk about it being closer-knit and being brought to be more unified. Do you get a sense of that? Can you put it into words for us, what that's like as a Prime Minister to be talking to other world leaders and being united against such atrocities that we're seeing unfold on our screens?
Well, I can say that I and my predecessors for years, since the invasion in Georgia in 2008, we have been raising our voices and saying that Russia is not like us. The government of Russia is heading towards autocracy. Then it was heading towards autocracy. Now I think it's a full-blown dictatorship. And for years, we were not necessarily listened to so much because there was a great consensus that, no, if you engage correctly with Putin, then things will be fine. Well, now that myth has been shattered. And I can say that at the meetings I am now attending, it's palpable. The unity, for example, the heads of the European Union, we met in Paris, in Versailles for a couple of days last week. We spent long hours speaking, but these were not the typical European arguments about small minor clauses. Everyone was unified as to what the problem is. And what we spent the hours speaking about is what more and what can we do more effectively to stop this atrocity. So there's complete unity around the European table. There's complete unity around the NATO table as well. And this is one of the side effects I think Putin never counted on. I think he underestimated democracy. He viewed our arguments and our differences of opinion as a weakness. But as it turns out, that democracies can and must be very strong, especially in the face of imperialistic aggression. And we are coming up to that. And we are responding, I think, in a much harsher manner than Putin ever expected. And we have to persevere. This is our mission right now, is to persevere and essentially not let Putin win this war of aggression.
Yeah, as the Ukrainian Prime Minister put it so succinctly, the world's eyes are now open. We never closed our eyes for a second. And many of Russia's neighbours, like yourself, you didn't close your eyes for a second either. Just a final question on peace talks. We did have some positive noises coming out of Russia over the weekend, offering a glimmer of hope. Peace talks have been paused today. Nothing coming out of those. We hope that they will resume at some point later today or tomorrow. How much hope are you holding out from those peace talks?
I am convinced that Putin will stop only when he is stopped. And when he is stopped, then I'm certain the negotiations will start, and they could even be very quick. Putin must be stopped. That is the only way to get him to come to the negotiating table.